Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tyler Slip, Executive Director for Basketball New Brunswick. Welcome to the third Zoom of the GMP 3.0 season. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. And if you're watching this later, thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, whether you're watching live today or watching the recording later, you can always send us questions that you have, whether it's for Luke or whether it's for our guest speaker. Today's Dr. Hamilton. Send us those even after the fact, and we will try and get you connected to get answers for this stuff. Because I think one of the most valuable things this series brings is like you get the chance to speak to experts and hear from experts that you otherwise would not have a chance to. So these opportunities are not everywhere and they're not for everyone. So if you want to take advantage to the fullest, then ask any questions you've got. No such thing as a bad question. For the settings, just a reminder, you can keep your cameras on or off. Our presenters always like to have a face, smiling, nodding. Reactions are always helpful. So turn it on if you can. Everyone's muted. The chat only comes to me. So again, if you've got questions at any time, put them in the chat. I will ask them when we've got a good opportunity, and we can always follow up if we don't get exactly what you're looking for. So we'll record this. I'll send it to everybody Monday or Tuesday this week. Today's speakers, we've got our strength and conditioning professional, Luke Couture. He's going to come on to explain phase 3. After Luke, we've got one of the best mental performance consultants that you can find anywhere in sport. And he just happens to be born and raised in New Brunswick, Dr. Ryan Hamilton. So his teams and athletes have won medals at the highest levels of sport all over the place. Olympic golds, World Junior golds, Stanley Cups, U Sport gold medals, you name it, they've won it, and he's helped them win it. So he's going to do his presentation. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, and we'll go until you guys have asked your questions out. So with all of that being said, let's go to Luke to start with phase 3.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tyler. If you can enable my screen sharing, that would be great. So welcome, everyone, and welcome to the third phase of the Gold Medal Performance Program. Tyler, we can see my screen here, yeah? I'm going to take that as a yes. All right. So like I said, welcome everyone. It is great to be here, and kudos to everyone on this call for taking the time. I get it. You guys are in the middle of your basketball season. People are getting ready for Christmas. Everything's going on. So kudos to all the athletes and any parents that we have on the call for making the time and really spending the next hour to invest in yourself. And like Tyler said, we're really lucky to have Dr. Hamilton with us today, and it's just such an honor. And that's, to iterate Tyler's point, is this is an opportunity for you guys to hear from people like Dr. Hamilton and to really get a hold of some good concepts that you can take away and be a better basketball athlete. So that's what we're here to do, and that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go through a few things. So first, I'm just going to talk a little bit about where we're at in the program. I'm going to reiterate and sort of come back to what are the goals of this program. I'm going to talk about our athlete development model and the timeline that we're on. I'm going to walk you through some of the program philosophy and how to use this. And then I'm going to be very happy to introduce Ryan Hamilton to come speak with us. I'm going to go through my piece right now. If anyone has any questions, please have them ready for me at the end. You can start typing them in the chat box at any point. But just to sort of iterate what we're doing here, guys, is this is your contact point. This is your chance to touch base with me. How's the program growing? Do we have any questions, any tweaks, any adjustments that we need to make? So this is our chance to have a bit of a dialogue together and really make this program work for you and be something that can benefit your athletic development. So here's where we're at. We have 1,700 views of the program over the last since we started this, 12.9 hours in watch time. So I think that's really cool. Hopefully that this means that athletes are watching the videos, engaging with things, and taking a peek at sort of the short clips and the short video demonstrations that I've put in place. And a lot of work has gone into that. So I'm really happy that they're being watched and that people are engaging in this. Again, I've had really good dialogue. This is our third iteration of this gold medal program, and this fall has been the best I've had in terms of dialogue, of like coaches sending me questions and athletes sending me, hey, what about this? And that ongoing dialogue, I feel is very, very important for the growth and the integrity of this program. So keep that up, and thank you everyone who's been reaching out. I'm just trying to be a resource for you as a former New Brunswick athlete myself. I'm just trying to do something good here that you guys can use and you guys can benefit from the lessons that I've learned. Big shout out right now to Seth Armstrong and Jake Dunfield, who sent me a couple really nice videos of doing some snap down to lateral shuffle work. I won't show them both here just for the sake of time, but kudos to you guys for sending stuff along. And I really encourage all the athletes on here to fire me off a video as we do our check-ins, or if you have a question at any point. Because again, this is just a really good touch point, and I'm able to provide some feedback to you that you might not otherwise get depending on where you are. So that's what we're trying to do. What are the goals? What are we trying to do here? And I always like to come back to this, because for me as a strength coach and a former athlete, everything comes down to intent. And what is the intent that you have behind the work that you do? So I sort of develop my training programs almost like a thesis, where I'm trying to show you, here's the intent behind it, here's why we're doing that, and then to go out and allow you guys the time and ability to just go out and do the work. So here's our goals. First and foremost, we're trying to teach athletes movement fundamentals. Movement fundamentals, we've gone through that, the importance of that, of just having good movement quality, as a method to fuel your growth in all the different skills and performance qualities that are involved in your sport. The second thing that we're trying to do is prevent injury. So we sat down, Tyler, Neil, all the Basketball New Brunswick guys, and myself at the beginning of this gold medal performance program, and we would have said, what are priority issues, priority injuries that we know are going to take place in basketball? And I added some of my own independent research on top of that. And this program is designed specifically to prevent injuries in those areas that are at high risk in basketball, things like ankles, knees, hips, those types of things. So we've layered the progressions, and everything that we're using is done in a way to really serve you guys and to give you some really nice tools and tidbits that you can take with you in your basketball journey to prevent injury. Third and finally, we're trying to develop basketball specific athleticism. So we're trying to make you guys overall better basketball athletes. So again, that's the goals of this program. And I think it's really important that you wrap your head around that. So, because that's the intent. So when we come to the end of this, when we come to the end of December, when we come to the other programs that we're going to do together, you guys can sit back and reflect and say, okay, did I do this? If so, why? And if not, why not? And that becomes our internal dialogue in terms of how to become a better athlete. So I hope that makes sense. The next piece to touch on here is this idea of the Basketball New Brunswick athlete development model. So we're in stage one here, where we're working I'm calling it Movement 101. And we're really working on everything is home base and working on movement quality and movement fundamentals. And the purpose of that is to prime technique for on and off court development as we get into future stages. Stage 2 that we'll do in the winter is going to break things out from junior and senior EDP programming and sort of progress the skills and stuff that we're doing along that way, specific to the season that you're in. And then the third and final stage is the high performance programs that take course over the summer. Team New Brunswick stuff, national championships, Canada Games when there is a Canada Games, those types of things. So any athletes who's on this call who's saying, yeah, I want to be a part of Team New Brunswick, I want to wear the Team New Brunswick logo on my shirt, the stuff that we're doing now has a direct impact on your ability to get there. And what we're trying to do is give you the resources that you need to take control to help yourself get to those high performance programs and do all the exciting things that you can do as an athlete. I'm just going to briefly talk again about this idea of the performance pyramid. I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record on this, but I just think it's so important to come back to this, because I've had a few parents reach out to me recently and really give kudos to the work that we're doing around really focusing on movement. They say, Luke, I loved what you're doing, because so many of the of young kids see what's on Instagram and they see what's on YouTube and see all this like stuff that looks really good, but we're not really sure how much value is it really adding. And we think that what you're doing is really trying to add value in terms of making them more mobile, making them more stable, improving movement quality, so that you can become a better, stronger, more agile, better energy system version of yourself. And then that is going to allow you to be a better basketball athlete. So this whole fall, everything that we've been doing, phase 1, phase 2, now into phase 3, it's all been revolved around this idea of movement and breaking that down. And what's so cool about this, guys, is you don't need much equipment. You don't need much stuff. It just comes down to a couple key coaching points, a couple key pieces of feedback, and doing the right stuff, which I'm hoping we've tried to provide here. Here's where we're at in the grand scheme of things. So we've all gone through the first 2 phases. First phase was called movement preparation, just introducing you to key movement qualities. We had a great guest speaker in Jeremiah Brown, the 4-year Olympian, coming on talking to us about his journey. The second phase was around hypertrophy, building the size of the muscle, and we had Natasha come on to speak to us about fueling stamina for basketball athletes. The third and final phase that we're into here is a second hypertrophy phase, and it's about concentric motion, which I'll get into here in a second. And we're really thrilled and honored to have Ryan Hamilton speak with us today. The part that I want to highlight right now from the strength training perspective is what I've highlighted here in the red at the bottom. And you can see a tempo prescription at the bottom. So phase 1, we focused on a 6-0 exo tempo, an eccentric tempo. In phase 2, we focus on an isometric tempo. And in phase 3, I'll show you, we're going to think about doing an acceleration movement in every lift that we're doing. And what this is, without getting overly scientific for you guys, but I'm just going to walk you through the work that we've done so that you can wrap your head around where it's at and how does this make me a better basketball athlete? And I'm just going to narrate that story to you right now. So what we've done is something called triphasic training. Don't get lost in the mumbo jumbo of the scientific terms, but what we've done is, first and foremost, we focused on the eccentric motion. So you'll see here the tempo 6-0 exo, where we focus on the eccentric. Here's a video demonstration of what we did in the first phase, the split squat, right? Down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6. Okay, so that was the first phase where we're really going slow on the way down. In the second phase, we pinpointed on the isometric muscle action, where we're looking at positions and postures. Okay, so we had this iso hold at the middle.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Right, so you've seen that. We broke the movement into areas where we want to develop sport-specific strength and power. So we focused on that position, and now we're getting into the last phase where we're just doing a clean, normal 3-0 exo tempo, and we're going to focus on the driving up. And here's a video showing you that.
My chest is tall. I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3. Up. My chest is tall.
And driving up. Okay. So over the course of this gold medal performance program, it's been so cool because we've hit all of the parameters. We did the eccentric motion, we did the isometric, and now we're doing the concentric motion. And some people might say, well, Luke, why do we want to work on this acceleration? Why is it important to be able to accelerate in the concentric motion? And again, if you remember my performance pyramid, in basketball, we need qualities like strength, power, agility, and these types of things. I mean, the clear one that's clear as day in basketball that everyone wants to be able to do is to jump, right? But jumping in basketball is absolutely paramount to performance. To be able to jump, you need the strength and power in your body to be able to accelerate off of the ground. It's really that simple. So to propel your body mass, you have to have the strength and power to get it off the ground. The more that we have, the more we can jump and the better we're going to be and be able to access certain things. So we're able to work on the middle part of this pyramid here. And this is how we're going to be able to jump through the roof, right? So you've built the control and the muscle, you've built the posture and the positioning, and now we're trying to put that into practice into something that's very, very sports specific, very, very meaningful for our basketball athletes here. I really hope that that makes sense. Just to go through again, I just like to always touch on how to use the program. A strength training program is only as good as people's ability to use it. So I always like to revisit this. Here's the name, the theme, the focus, and the period, everything at the top. This is what your warm-up looks like. You always read your warm-up from left to right. And here's the main part of the strength effort, where we're always going to do our A's, then our B's, then our C's, and you just progress things in the exact sets and reps that I've prescribed. And really, a good strength training program should really just read like a book, so it should be fairly straightforward at this point. And then your cool down at the bottom of what I want you to do for your cool down movements. How do we access this? So again, everyone's gotten an email like this with it labeled in terms of what phase we're in, what's the period from, and which day. You just have to click on, okay, boom, it's Monday. I'm on day 1. Let's go. Let's do some work. I'm on day 2, Wednesday, whatever the days are that are going to fit into your schedule. You just pop in there, and then you're pulled to a YouTube playlist that you just run through from start to finish. And I would anticipate that sort of as people are getting more comfortable with this, they don't necessarily need to, be on the video at all times. I've made the videos very, very short and sweet so that we're not spending time talking, we're spending more time acting. And I feel that that's very important to this program. If you do need that help, the great thing is the playlists are organized right from start to finish. So if you're like, I don't want to access both things, you just go on the playlist and run it through from top to bottom, and you'll be able to get through your workout exactly as that. And it's pretty cool because I manage a weight room now at RNS, and I get to see some of the athletes there coming on. They got their AirPods in, they put their phone on, whatever, and they're able to run through the movements from start to finish. So it's been really cool and rewarding for me to be able to see this getting put to use in real life. Again, you guys have gotten this program. You are able to click on any link in this, and it'll direct you right to the video. So if anyone has any specific questions, I forget what a foot elevated glute bridge is, I forget what push up to bench is, you just click on the link, it'll take you right there, and you can have a revisit of what that looks like. Again, my whole thing with this is I've tried to design it to be as simple and straightforward as possible. As I've said before, totally open and encourage technical feedback. If you guys have questions, you send them to Neil send them to me, and I'll get them back to you. This process has been really working quite well, and I think that this flows pretty smoothly. And I want everyone to double down on being able to do that. When I was your age, to be able to get some technical feedback on stuff that I'm doing, I would have been like, hey, I'm all about this. And I'm sure Ryan and Tyler would be as well. So I just want you guys to take advantage of that and know that I'm here to help you. I'm a part of your team, and I really want to see you guys do well and use this to the best of its ability. So please reach out if you do have any questions, or if you want to engage in any technical feedback. I'm here for it. I'm all about it. Okay, that was all for me. I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions.
I have nothing in the chat so far, so we'll give it a last call here if anyone has any questions about the program specifically. I think you're good.
Excellent. Well, if no questions, that means that things are flowing along as we would like them. So that is awesome. Like I said, if you do want to reach out, please reach out at any. So it is my great pleasure today, guys, to introduce to you our guest speaker, Dr. Ryan Hamilton. Ryan is a man whose resume speaks for itself, but here are a few of the many highlights of Ryan's career. 2 World Junior gold medal winning teams, 2 Stanley Cup championship teams, and he was the mental performance coach at the Beijing 2022 Olympics. That is a pretty outstanding resume, and we're really thankful to have Ryan in our community and being able to do stuff like this with us. Ryan was my mental performance coach for multiple years when I was a full-time athlete, and I had worked with a number of people from all over and over the course of my career. And I can honestly say that Ryan has a really unique approach to this thing, and his thoughtfulness, attention to detail, and overall ability to listen really stood out to me in working with Ryan. So it was a really, really great experience, and I'm glad to bring him back on for stuff like this. This is a really rare opportunity to be able to have someone like Ryan speak. So I think that everyone on this call should be really thankful for his time and really try to have some really good questions for him at the end. Before I let Ryan come on, I'm just going to finish with this one slide, which just shows how impactful Ryan is and was on our last call, which we had him last year. So this was a quote that Ryan mentioned in his call: invest in the process, surrender the outcome. And I had written it down in our call, and it was so impactful. It was such a powerful quote to me that I bought a house over the last year, and I got it. It was the first thing I got printed on my office. So that is my office wall right out in front of me. And that just shows you the impact that this guy has. Without further ado, please welcome Ryan Hamilton.
Wow. Thanks, Luke. Man, that's very flattering. And I'm going to not showcase my listening skills as I talk for the next 30 minutes straight. But I appreciate the introduction very much. And I also appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Like, you know, as you guys, I had this flashback of when I was being serious about baseball when I was growing up at Plaster Rock in the mid 1990s. And I remember my strength training plan. I remember doing it. I was just had these visions of being in my back lawn and just doing some jumps and doing push-ups randomly. And that's how I was going to be. That's how I was going to reach the next level. Like that's what I did a lot of jumping and a lot of push-ups. But I don't think it made much of a difference overall. And so to have exposure to what Basketball New Brunswick is putting together for the people in this program is incredible. And to have, you know, somebody who's as passionate as Luke leading the strength and conditioning portion is awesome. So thanks everyone for making some time. And, you know, I look at participating in things like this as these small investments in yourself. And today, like participating today won't be the turning point in your life or in your career as an athlete. It takes work over time to do that, but today is a vote for yourself. It is a vote for your development, and I'm glad that I can be a small part of it. So thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Just going to share my screen. Here we go. All right. What's everyone seeing?
We've got your PowerPoint.
You got the PowerPoint? Okay, awesome. All right, I'm actually gonna have to move my, I have multiple monitors here. Let me just move this around. Cool. All right. So, you know, oh, now the thing has moved back. Okay, we're all good. All right, so, what I want to do today ultimately is present a little bit of my vision in terms of how do we actually do the work of mental skills? Because
let me just interrupt. We have your presenter view. I don't know if you intended that or.
Well, that's not ideal. Let me stop sharing that for a second.
Keep your notes, your secret notes.
I think what you'll see is there's actually no notes. Just going to try to do this differently then. How about now?
Okay. Yep, there we go.
We're good? Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. So one of the things that that is tricky in my business, and especially when I'm only seeing you guys, once, is how do we get down to the business and the skill work that Luke so expertly puts in front of you with all the supporting documents? And I think it's a bit of a failing in sports psychology that we don't provide enough of that guidance. So today, after I get a couple other things out of the way, today what I'm going to do is show you a little bit of the how-to of mental skill development. So I'm not the most fun person on earth. I've come to realize, like, I don't really know how to have a good time. And so really, when I have a bit of downtime in my life, I like to spend it in the woods. And it's not like, oh, I get all my buddies together and my family together and we go in the woods camping for days on end. No, I just go by myself in the woods. And for somebody who spends a lot of time in hotel rooms, getting to the woods is actually a major release. So this summer, here's a picture of the top of Mount Carlton, almost the top. I did make it all the way up there. So this summer I planned, I was back home in Plaster Rock, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go for a couple of hours and do some hiking. My family was going to meet me later on that day in the park. We were going to, do a little bit of barbecue outside, some paddling on the lake and so on. But I was like, I'm going up early. I'm going up first. I want to spend a couple of hours by myself in the woods. So I had planned out this really nice, I don't know, 8 to 10 kilometer loop that I was going to do that took me up Mount Carlton one way and then down another way. So I was pumped about that, but I hadn't been there in a really long time. So what I did is I downloaded a map on my phone. So I had a map of where I wanted to go. Because there's not very good cell reception up there, I was like, okay, I got this map. So I get there when the park opens, and it had rained so hard the night before, like buckets and buckets and buckets of rain. I was like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of wet in the woods, but it's no big deal. So in I go and off I go. I park sort of at this trailhead beside a lake. And then rather than going the main route that everybody takes up Mount Carlton, I decide I'm going to run this loop around the backside and then go up, my own way. So I start off on this little journey, and it's clear that the path that's so expertly and clearly on the map that I had has not been seen by human beings in a few weeks. It's very, very high ferns. And so within 100 meters of my journey, I'm already soaked from the waist down. But whatever, this is what the trail's offering me today. I'm in my happy spot. Let's go about it. You get onto this old road in the back. There's a bunch of deadfalls and stuff. So I'm crawling under some trees, but it's feeling good. And when the trail opened up, I would run. And then when the trail got really nasty, I would just hike it. I had only brought like a little bit of water with me in my backpack and a pack of trail mix, but that was going to be enough for the 90 minutes I was going to be in the woods. So off I go. I get up towards the top of Mount Carlton, feeling good. It's a nice day. The sun has finally come out. I'm like, yeah, what an awesome day. So I come down off of there, and now I'm going to keep on going. But the trail that I had picked at the top is like all of these spruce boughs. They're all closing in on the trail. Again, not many people have used this trail. And so now I'm getting soaked up here. I'm plowing through it. It's wet. It's slippery. No big deal. Just grind away, man. It's all good. I'm not seeing any other humans, by the way, but that's okay too. I don't mind that. And so I get to this trail. It's called the Dry Brook Trail. And it's essentially a trail that goes down this old, this brook that dries up in the summers. Except the buckets and buckets and buckets of rain have caused Dry Brook to be Waterfall Brook. And I can't go down it. I can't use the trail. I start down and it's just torrents of water going. So I'm like, well, what the heck am I going to do? Am I going to go back the way that I came? Or am I going to just find another way? Yeah, you know what? I'm ahead of schedule. I'm going to find another way. And so I keep going and I'm following some old trail markers and I'm making my way and making my way. And, but I'm a little confused. So I go and I grab my phone out of my pocket and I go to look at the map. But my phone has been rubbing on my chest in the wet, and now it is locked out because it thinks I'm trying to put the passcode into the phone. So it says, no, you've been locked out. can't access the phone for an hour. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Sit here for an hour? Nah, just try to figure it out. So I keep going and I keep going, and I'm veering what I think is the right way. And I get to the top of what ends up being the top of Mount Head, which is way not where I want to be. So now I'm a little concerned. My water's gone, my trail mix is gone, and now I'm a couple of hours in, and I know my family's going to be a little bit concerned. So now I'm hustling as much as I can, and I'm still trying to find trails. I don't have a real map, but I've been to Mount Carlton a few times. So I'm like, I'm getting across the top of all these mountains. I'm going to go the long way down, and I'm going to run around to get back. Plowing through the woods. Things are unfolding. I'm chafing, I'm sweaty, I'm hot, I'm thirsty, whatever, but you got to grind it out. And then I hear my wife's voice. Ryan, are you there? Are you there, Ryan? And I'm like, what? Is my wife here, or is she just like so in my head? Like, what is happening? But what's happened is my phone has made an SOS call. Because of all the rubbing, it's made an emergency call to my wife. And so nice to know that function works. But I have to give out my phone. I'm like, no, I'm fine. She's like, well, where are you? I'm like, I'm somewhere between Mount Carlton and Mount Sagamuk, but I think I've got it figured out. I'll see you in a bit. She's like, well, we're already here. Like, you're supposed to be here now. Like, I know, honey, I'm coming. So I keep going. I keep finding a way, picking away. I eventually get to a familiar trail. I go down Mount Sagamuk, I get onto a road, and then I run 8 kilometers on this road to get back to the lake where I was supposed to be hours before. What was supposed to be 90 minutes and 10K ended up being 32K in about 5 hours, and not the best time. So I get there. It is a brilliantly sunny day. I lie down on the ground beside this lake. I make a wee little pillow out of my backpack, and I'm just letting the good times soak in. And my wife has taken this picture of me as I'm letting the good times soak in, and then proceeds to give me a bit of a nudge in the rib cage with her foot and says, what the hell were you doing? What the hell is going on? Where were you? We've been worried about you. You're just going to lay here on the ground now? This was the happiest moment of my summer before she interrupted it. And it's not because everything went swimmingly, and it's not because everything was perfect. It's not because my wife got mad at me. It's not because I was alone for 6 hours. It's because there was a problem that I had to find a way to solve. And when I finally solved it and got through all of it, I'm flooded by this joy, this feeling of satisfaction and achievement. And so this brings me to a question that I want to ask all of you. And I'm not going to get Tyler to relay the chat, but if I asked you, what is the source of happiness? When people are happy, why are they happy? Like, what's the source? Some of you here might say, you know what I'm happy is when I'm going to the mall and I have $40 in my pocket. I've done some babysitting, or I've done some odd jobs. I mowed a few lawns. I got some cash. Now I'm going to go to the mall and I'm going to buy myself something. That's the source of happiness. Others might say, well, you know what? I was really lonely at school, but then I met somebody, and occasionally at school we hold hands. Oh my God. It's like I'm in a relationship. I have a partner. That's the source of happiness. And some of you might say, you know what? I was happy when I got a spot in this program, or I was happy when I made the provincial team. I was happy when I got invited to this camp. And, those would all be really great answers, except you can't really buy happiness. You can buy a nice latte at Starbucks and 'tis the season, but you can't really buy happiness. It doesn't really matter how much. Like, do we think Elon Musk is happy today with this Twitter debacle that he's gotten? He's probably not all that happy. He has more money than everyone on earth. So maybe it's not money that brings us happiness. I work with hockey players who, some of them are making $9.5 million a year. And there are times when they're really down or really stressed or really anxious, really concerned, really conflicted, unmotivated. It might not be money, and it might not be relationships, because, you know, as much as my wife and I are sometimes in the throes of marital bliss, there are other times where she's increasingly and incredibly frustrated with me. And, you know, even that feeling of making the team or having a success, it's wonderful. And you should feel that flood. But the reality is there's no finish line. There's always more work to do. So no matter what we have or who we're with or what team or opportunity we've been given, there's still more problems to solve. And, you know, you would say, well, Ryan, I wouldn't have said any of those superficial things. I would have said having a purpose, having goals, and having love and support in my life. That's the key to happiness. I think we've all had goals and not always been happy. We've all have a purpose, I hope, but we're not always happy. We don't always feel successful. Even in the midst of doing the things that we love, there's some times where it's hard work. And so being a part of a program like this is an honor and it's a tremendous opportunity. And yet you might still look at it at times and be like, wow, man, what a grind. Like, this is so hard work. Like, I got to listen to this sports psych guy. How many more minutes is this going to go on for? The idea, though, and I try to impart this to everyone, is that maybe a life well lived and a career well pursued in the sport of basketball isn't so much about always being happy, but always having problems that you're passionate about solving. Some of you are struggling with some of those exercises that Luke is demonstrating. And you're like, well, I'm in this program, but now I really suck at this thing. But by investing in it and asking questions and working on it, suddenly you get better at it. But then, like any good coach, Luke will have the next variation, the next challenge to it. You get comfortable doing it a particular way, you feel successful, and then the goalpost moves. And that's where development really and truly does come from. So I don't mean to be depressing. You know, there's no like permanent happiness out there. But if you're doing things that you love, maybe happiness isn't so much always feeling great and successful and positive, but maybe it's having things that are worth struggling for. And so that's one of the things to think about. Having said all that, if I'm going to say that the key to development and success is solving problems, what I'm also saying then is that we're going to have problems. And that's a little bit threatening. And when I say that, that means that it's not always easy. It's not always like, oh, the sports site gave me exercises to do, so I can do that. And oh, Luke gave me this program, that's what I can do. Oh, and my coach is asking me to do this and teaching me this in practice, that's what I can do. Or, oh, I made this team, but now I got to go to this camp, that's what I can do. Just because we have all these great opportunities to be successful doesn't necessarily make it easy. Sometimes it is hard work. So this is where I come in, and that's what I want to focus the rest of the presentation on today. I'm going to give you a bit of a plan at the end that's based on work that I do with professional hockey players, professional tennis players, and professional golfers. So this plan that I've put together, it comes from the work that I've done with pro hockey players, tennis players, and golfers in the last year. So I've really sort of crystallized this into one vision. But it will work very well for you folks as well. So the first thing is that when we're solving problems, when we have some difficulty, something we're working through, whether that's trying to make a team or trying to get more playing time or trying to get stronger or trying to get more mentally tough or whatever that might be, sometimes we're going to feel a bit overwhelmed. Sometimes we're going to feel stressed. Sometimes we're going to be worried about how it's going. And so one of the strategies that I'm going to share with you is this idea of affirmations. And if you've heard me speak, I speak a lot about affirmations. When I know who I am and what I'm doing, and I'm committed to it, I no longer need to be defensive. So Luke made the point about having an intention, and that's what an I will statement is. I'm saying to myself, before I go to the gym, before I go to the court, before I leave the hotel room at the tournament, I'm saying to myself, this is what I'm doing today. I will do this. I repeat it to myself a number of times, and I get a clear image of myself doing it. It's something I can control. It's something that's important. It's something that's going to help me and my team have success. This is what I'm going to do. Then the other element of affirmations is an I am statement. And that's just a reminder that even though I'm solving problems and going through difficulty and being challenged in new ways, I'm still good at stuff. Like I still have assets. I still have things that make me special, make me different, make me successful. And so I am statements are just a way of reminding yourself of that. So we're striving, we're pursuing, we have intention, there's things we're going there to get done, but we come at that with a position of strength of this is who I am and this is why I can take it on. Another thing that I recommend to athletes that I work with is to write in a journal. You're like, well, Ryan, I write in a journal, man. Like, what am I going to write down? Let me show you something. These are journals that I've filled out. And I don't write in a journal every day. I have clients who write in a journal every day. Indeed, I haven't journaled probably in 3 months. I intend to go back to it, but I wrote in those journals when I was actually going through very overwhelming and stressful times. So I wrote in a journal when I was in Beijing, dealing with all sorts of uncertainty at the Olympics. I wanted to capture a lot of the experience and all the nuance to the days, but I was also under a lot of pressure and stress. I wrote it in journals when I was in a bubble with the NHL during the playoffs. What does it do? It helps me reflect on my day. What did I do well? What am I grateful for? What are things that I'm proud of? What did I have for lunch? All those things can appear, but sometimes when our mind is really, really busy, we're trying to hold on a bunch of information, it's helpful just to put it on paper. And once it rests on paper, we've taken it out of our head and we can put our focus on something different. Another strategy I use when people are feeling overwhelmed or worried or feeling like this is never going to end is I use the 5-5-5 rule with athletes. What does that mean? Well, the first question I ask myself, 5 days from now, will this worry, will this stress, will this difficult problem still be in front of me? It might be, but probably even in 5 days, you'll have understood it better, made an attempt to solve it, made some progress with it. The next question is, how about 5 weeks? Will I still be as stressed out about my language arts test in 5 weeks? Will this period still matter as much? Will I still be as worried about the fact that I went 0 for 9 from the field 5 weeks from now? Will other things have happened? Other positive things have happened? And how about 5 months from now? Geez, like I'm following all this program and we've gone through all these phases and it's so demanding and I'm so busy with school and volunteering and my sport practices. And now I'm doing the strength and conditioning plan. Man, this is so hard. Is it even worth it? Well, how will I feel about it 5 months from now when I'm trying out for some other team? Will I be glad that I've had this experience? What will this all mean? So I like to use that 5-5-5 rule because it makes me think I'm not trapped. I do see myself making progress in the future. Maybe I just need to see myself through this difficult period I'm going through right now. And then as well, in terms of for the worried, racing, chatter-filled mind, practicing meditation, following a meditation program, using an app, going on YouTube is an essential skill for quieting the mind, letting go of stress. And again, it feeds this idea of intentionality and a more calm mindset. This is the first skill that I really lean on athletes to have, because what comes with meditation is self-awareness. So, I mean, you might be shocked to know that the Tampa Bay Lightning last year meditated for over 1,000 hours. I got our annual report because we just renewed our license with Headspace. And when you look at all of our meditation together, all pooled into one program, the team meditated over 1,000 hours. It's pretty impressive. I was some of those hours, I did my part. So anyway, just good things to think about. So that is one thing. Also, when we're going and asking more of ourselves, when we're pushing ourselves, and I just throw this down here quickly. I'm going to send you what I've written, what I call a breathing Bible, very brief, shorter than the other Bible, not quite as important probably, but with some good tools in it. And these tools, on the one hand, when we're sort of solving problems, going through difficult times, pushing ourselves, focusing on development, our mind can get really busy, but sometimes our body can get stressed, tense, restless. And I find that following up a busy day's work or a really hard workout with a bit of a breathing protocol, like many of these things here, is critical. So I'm not gonna get into what these are right here, but all of those breathing activities that you see there are intended to switch us from a more stressful state to a more restful state. So turn off the sympathetic nervous system, turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. We need a balance of both of those nervous systems activated to have success. But often what people do is they'll go to school, they'll work hard at school, they'll go to practice, they'll work hard, they'll go home, they'll do their workout, then they'll do some homework, then they'll stare at their phone, then they'll watch something on YouTube, then they'll play a video game, and then they'll go to bed, and they'll be restless, and they never actually recovered, and they'll fitfully sort of fall asleep. And I think one of the things that's key is that we're actively shutting down the system. So all of those breathing exercises have that same thing in common, where we're shutting off the stress system and turning on a more relaxing recovery system. Then the last piece is when we're going through all of this, especially when we're hitting some struggle and we're hitting some plateaus and we're like, oh, I made the team, everything's going to be great. And then it's still hard sometimes, or we get stronger, get stronger, get stronger, get stronger. And now we're not making the same gains. Sometimes what happens is we don't feel as competent. And when we're not feeling as competent, then we start to see a lack of motivation. So at times, it's important to focus on the why of what you are doing, to realize the impermanence of an obstacle you're facing, to take note on the progresses that you've made so far and how plateaus are just a part of the reality of getting better. And then finally, it's focusing on that process, investing in it, indulging in it, prioritizing it, and letting go of some of those outcomes. So before I get to the plan that I want to share with you, I just want to summarize. Happiness and success are not permanent states. We don't one day, when we do a certain thing, become, now I'm successful, now I'm happy, and every day from now on forward is going to be easy and bright and sunny and vibrant. No, we're meant as human beings to go from joy to struggle. Indeed, it is the struggle, the difficult times that we face that actually motivate the next change. Human beings aren't meant to be happy. Human beings are meant to make progress. That's the way our brain is wired, to continue to develop. And so there's a role for reflecting on successes and taking breaks and all of that, of course. But it is the low that comes after the high that motivates us to take the next step for the next high. Happiness and success are not an absence of problems. They're just having problems that are worth struggling for and worth solving. It's not simply an outcome. Find joy in the process. Find joy in doing the work. Find joy in the mastery of the single leg pistol squat. Find joy in those little things and little steps. Find joy, not just, oh man, I worked on this ball handling thing and now I feel great about that because it's going to lead to something. Just feel great about doing it. Feel great about having that success. Sometimes what we do when we're not finding that happiness and success, and we're feeling like, oh, geez, something must be wrong with me because I'm not feeling all that happy, we want to indulge in things that just temporarily make us feel better. Happiness and success truly come from solving the big problems, not distracting ourselves from them. I have had, so at UNB, I'm a psychology prof, but I also have to teach a graduate statistics class. Not my favorite thing to do. I have been sitting like around for the past week, waiting to mark 17 stats assignments. And what I've done is 100 other little tiny things that have distracted me from doing it. I've sent emails, I've booked flights, I've reached out to people I haven't talked to in a while. I have, I've done all sorts of things. I've done the laundry. I do all these things that make me feel like, oh man, okay, way to go, Rye. Except the real important work still sits there. And so this morning I said, because I have to have them all graded by tomorrow night, this morning I said, Ryan, now's the time to go. Like, you got to go. And I started, and the first one took 20 minutes. I thought it was going to take so much longer. I got 5 done this morning. And now I'm like, I can't wait to mark more. Like, I can't wait to work on that big work. True success and happiness comes from working on the big problems, not distracting ourselves from them. Share it with others. Happiness and success is not a zero-sum game. It's not like, oh, if Ryan has more success, Luke has to have less. No, we can have happiness and success together. So remember that, solve problems together. And then finally, sometimes we can do great work even when problems are swirling about. Happiness doesn't have to only exist when all the problems are solved. We can be happy all along the way, even as we're working on things and making small progresses. And sometimes we can still do great work, even when we're unmotivated, feeling down, not feeling particularly confident or happy. Still have a good workout. You can still have a good practice. Sometimes it's just getting started. So that's that. So I'm going to throw a really big slide at you right now that puts this kind of work all together. So this is a plan that that I've thrown a couple basketball pictures in here to reflect it and sort of put it in the right context. But I have a professional tennis player, formerly number 50 in the world, massive injuries this year, fell all the way down to 269 in the world as the year went on. Recently won a lower level challenger tour tournament and is now back well into the top 200. And it's like mid 100s now and is on his way. But this is his plan. This is what he does a minimum of 5 days a week. Starts in the morning with a meditation. So why? Wants to have clarity about his day when he gets up, has a very busy mind. He wants to start with clarity, wants to start with intention. So he does a brief meditation each morning. Sometimes he uses Headspace, which is an app. Sometimes he uses Calm. Sometimes he uses Waking Up. Sometimes he goes on YouTube. Sometimes he just does it himself. But the idea is he starts his days with a bit of a meditation. And then sometimes what he'll do is he'll just go outside and have what we call a mindful walk, where he gets lots of light exposure and then just really is mindful and present about his walk. Another one. So I have a few professional hockey players that are using this kind of I am and I will exercises. So, and there's more details on this on the next slide. And I'm going to share all this with you. So you're going to have all this, you're going to have tons of materials. But the idea is after the meditation, before going off to train or play, what's a strength and what's an intention that I have? I write it down 10 times each. I envision it 10 times each. I say it out loud 10 times each. And then I let that be my default position for the day. Like, this is what I'm going to get done. This is a picture actually I took from the Raptors. The Raptors have this little practice gym in the Scotiabank Center in Toronto. So whenever we're there playing hockey with the Lightning, we have access to that place. So I'm always shooting hoops up there in my suit. So I took a quick picture. So that's it. But before going in there as an athlete, before you go into that gym, you should know why you're going in. Like, this is what I'm here to do today. At least this, and then the other things will sort of fall into place. The next thing is, in the face of challenges, is this ABC strategy that I'm really big on. This strategy is an in-game, in-practice strategy when I'm feeling frustrated, mad, doubting myself. I go through the ABCs. This relates really well to a mindfulness exercise, which builds awareness abilities. So the ABCs are aware, breathe, choose. So if I'm feeling frustrated, mad, feel tension, a bad body language, coach just took me out, whatever it might be, let me bring awareness to how I'm feeling. That's the first step. Ooh, I'm mad. Ooh, I'm down. I don't have any confidence. Okay, I'm aware of how I'm feeling. I take 2 breaths just to ground myself in the moment. And now I'm going to choose to focus on something that's important now. What's the next thing that I need to do in order to add value, make a difference, and so on. So ABC to win. Next thing, so many athletes say, I hate, Ryan, don't be a psychologist and make me write in a journal. I hate writing in journals. I never know what to write. And I was like, well, you don't need to know what to write. You just need to write. You just let your pen start doing some work. Having said that, on the slide that I send you, I'm going to provide some prompts, so things you might journal about. I have this thing here, which is a journaling book that I ordered online that has 1,000 prompts in it. But some of the prompts that you could write about at night are, what did I do today? Something I'm proud of. Who helped me? Who did I help? What was fun? What am I excited about tomorrow? What's a sticky thing I can't stop thinking about? Let me just get it down here and out of the way. And then finally is, before unwinding and going to bed, doing a box breathing technique or a 4-7-8 breathing technique is an incredible way to sort of end the day, shut down the system, and start a nice transition into sleep. So I have athletes who are following this kind of program, most days. Are they professional athletes and are paid to only work on this? Yes. Well, and all their other sports stuff, but this is not hard. I know it's a little bit harder, but what I would encourage any athlete on this call today to do is pick 2 or 3 things a day in little 5-minute blocks that go well with what you're going to be encountering. So maybe you start the day with a meditation, maybe you journal at night, and maybe you do a breathing exercise. Another day, what you might do is you go to a workout with affirmations in mind. As soon as you finish the workout, you do a breathing exercise just to kind of nourish that and to recover from it. And then you might do another breathing exercise at night. The idea is to take 2 or 3 things each day, because when you're doing that, you're practicing the mental skills of elite performance. So the last slide is this. I'm going to leave this alone. It's just a little more detail on each of those things. And as I said, I'm going to send all that to you guys. So I'm going to wrap up there and open it up for any questions that people might have.
That was excellent. Let's open it for questions. And I've got one already. And one of them is, someone is playing their grade 8 on a senior high school team. So already everyone's older than them, more experienced. And they just feel like it's it sounds like they can't do right. And they feel like that they're just always kind of the target.
Yeah, wow. So great question, great opportunity as well. And so it's like, wow, I'm in this position and I'm on the high school. Like, wow, man, like I made it. I should be happy every day. Like what a vote for me. What an endorsement of my ability and my potential, right? Like it probably feels great. And then turns out, oh, being on this team is actually conflicted with some challenges and some problems. And it would probably be really helpful to get more positive, supportive feedback and to know a little bit more about, well, these are things I'm getting better at. These are small breakthroughs that I'm having. But if that's not coming from the outside, then it's a little bit more work on doing it from the inside and taking note of one's own progress and having others who are willing to provide some feedback to provide it. I know, like, there's no voice like the coach's voice, right? And there's no, or a teammate's voice, but you can't make it come sometimes. And pinning your own feelings of happiness, satisfaction, and confidence on feedback that you can't control whether or not you get is actually a pretty dicey thing. So one of the things that we talk a lot about in mental performance is trying to build a robust confidence and not putting our confidence just on feedback I get from others or success I'm having in a game. My confidence needs to be on a broader foundation than that. So what else could it be? Well, it could be, what am I doing in practice? How hard am I working in practice? What is reflecting on things that I've gotten better at? What about my workouts? Have I gotten stronger? Am I more explosive? Have I made progress? Have I learned? What about my mental performance work? Am I doing more things? Am I picking up skills in that area? So we can build it that way. What about my equipment? Do I like my shoes? Do I like my stuff? Like, do I like my kit? Do I like my bag? I do like that stuff, actually. What about my understanding of the game? Am I learning by being in these practices and picking things up? I'm learning. I do understand things. I have picked some stuff up, and so on and so forth. Sometimes, and we see this all the time. I have Olympic level wrestlers that I work with, and sometimes they'll train with people who are far better than them because they need that in their training partner. And then they'll call me. It's like, Ryan, I don't have any confidence. I've been wrestling with this person who's heavier, more experienced, and better, and I'm losing all the time. Well, why did you choose to work with that training partner? Well, I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to know where my weaknesses were. I know I have to get tougher. That's why. Well, are we doing those things? We are, but I never score a point. Well, I understand, but knowing why we're doing that and marking our own progress, I think is one of those things. And draw broadly for confidence, not pin it on one tiny thing. As important as that tiny thing is, and I get it, and I do understand where that question comes from.
We have one that is almost kind of the counter to that question. Someone just found out they didn't make the varsity team, but all their friends did. There's tryouts for the junior varsity team, but they're so disappointed from not making varsity, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. I talked to a kid about this the other day, just my neighbor, his son's a hockey player. And he's been with this particular peer group all along. And then this is the first time the peer group is going there and he's not getting that opportunity. And it can be incredibly demotivating. I can understand that. From a social perspective, you feel like something's lost. From an opportunity perspective, you feel like something's lost. So I can get it. The thing that's happened with my neighbor's kid, though, is, wow, is he getting a lot of playing time? Wow, he's actually the captain of the team. He's actually being looked at to be a leader and is being challenged in this new environment in a different kind of way. And deselection feels permanent. It feels like the ultimate vote of no, and this is it. Like, it's time to start dwindling down the career from here on forward. But it is actually also ripe with possibly bigger minutes, better minutes, more responsibility, more leadership, new relationships, different coaching, and so on. And I'm not just trying to put the warm and fuzzy brush over it all, because I think you're allowed to feel that disappointment. Like you're allowed to feel setback and a bit demotivated, but you started the sport for more than just being on that particular team. And it offers more than that. There's more of a richness to the experience than that. So it's a great chance to find opportunities for growth and know that 5 days from now, this is still going to suck. 5 weeks from now, especially if you bring the right mindset and attitude to it, you're going to keep getting better. And 5 months from now, you can actually be a totally different athlete in terms of ability, strength, leadership, shooting, ball handling, et cetera, et cetera. So there are opportunities wrapped up in this if we can escape the feeling of permanence of what's happened. But I do get the disappointment and the demotivating element that comes with it.
We have a quote for you to review.
Okay.
And I will read it and then ask you some questions. It says, I have a recipe for mental health. Do one thing for your mind, do one thing for your body, one thing for your soul every day. Be present and practice gratitude. Do you agree or disagree with that quote? And how do you know what is good for your soul?
So, I mean, I don't know. That's one where I can't really offer something. Well, so let's start with the easier ones. So I think absolutely we need to be doing things for our body. That sometimes we abuse our body, and not in the sense, but we ask more of it, we stretch it, we challenge it, we push it. We're saying, hey body, when we're training, we're saying, hey body, you need to change because you're not able to meet the present demands of the challenges being put in front of you. Like that's the purpose of being on a training plan. We're saying this comfortable spot we're at is nice, but if we want to get to a new spot, we have to get uncomfortable and change in response to that. So I think that is doing something that's good for your body, forcing it to grow. But I think there's also things that are good for the body that are just allowing it to recover and relax. So I think that's important. I think from a mindset perspective, we should be careful with our mind. We should be careful with our thoughts, and we should use our thoughts in a way that are supportive to us. Once again, this can be in the form of a breathing exercise or a thought exercise. But certainly when I talk about journaling, a lot of the power of journaling comes in gratitude. And what am I grateful for? What am I appreciative of? What am I proud of? I think a lot of that is good for the soul as well. I have a hard time defining soul. But I do try to make that kind of work a part of my own life and my own practice. Like going in the woods is good for my soul. Like challenging myself, struggling is good for my soul. Going and watching Lyle Crocodile with my daughter yesterday. We both looked at each other like, are we really going to this kid's movie? We are. It was good for our souls. Like I ate a whole massive bag of popcorn. Not good for my body. Being a little unrestrained once in a while, good for my soul. So I think we can get very caught up in striving, but I think occasionally it is worthwhile to get caught up in just being present and just for the purpose of enjoying what we're doing. So I like the quote. Yeah, but I struggle with the soul.
How do you achieve consistency in your own life and your approach, and what do you recommend to athletes?
So I think this varies for different people. Consistency for me, consistency over intensity. That's what wins. And honestly, like if sometimes it might not be a Hall of Fame workout that you're having. It might not be like the Basketball Hall of Fame might not call to give video footage of you shooting the ball in practice. Like they might not. Like it doesn't. It some days we're gonna have our B game or our C game. We're gonna have our B body, right? Like we're not always gonna feel great, but showing up and consistently showing up builds that repetitiveness. So the way that I do it, and this what works for me, but it doesn't work for everybody. Like if you wanted to know how many push-ups I did in March of 2017, I could tell you. I have a spreadsheet. If you wanted to know how many kilometers I ran in June of 2019, I can tell you it was a low number because I fell off my house and hurt my hip, but I could tell you how many kilometers I ran. What I do is I set goals, fitness related, wellness related, production related. I set goals every month. I think long and hard about what those goals are going to be, and then I measure it every single day. I keep track of it. I know that it's right here on this piece of paper. I wrote it down today. I know that I ran 10K. I know that I've done 120 push-ups. I know that I did 20 minutes of yoga. I know what my day was. I track it, I value it, and I give myself about this much room to fail. Like, I gotta hit my goals like 90% of the time. I value consistency over everything else. Here's another weird thing I do with my goals. I set the high end, and then equally as important, I set the low end. So if my goal is to run 150 kilometers in the month of November, that's what I want to do. Like that's consistent with building my fitness. That's what I want to do. Okay. Then I also set 100 or 120. That's the minimum amount. And so my idea is, you know what, there are going to be days you're traveling, you're burnt out, you're tired, you're jet lagged, whatever. You might not have 8 in you. You might not have an 8K today, but I bet you can put on your stuff and go get 5. So one of the ways I structure myself is to just maximize consistency, to continually voting for myself. Even if it's a small vote. Some days it's a big check mark. Wow, what a day I had. Other days it's a smaller check mark. So that's what I do. And here's the thing. So I'll even start this way. It's like, Ryan, you don't have to work out very long, but you have to at least go put on your stuff. I put on my stuff. Next thing you know, I got my shoes on too. And next thing you know, I'm actually doing it. So I think consistency trumps everything when we have long-term goals. So
yeah, sometimes you get out there and it's not as bad as you had built up in your head.
Yeah, I like yesterday I talked, my daughter and I are home alone right now. I talked to my daughter for about an hour about how I didn't want to go for a run, how I should have went earlier. Why did I wait till it's dark? I was so stupid. Like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Maybe I'll go longer tomorrow. And then I got on my stuff. I was like, Ryan, just get out for a couple kilometers. And I'm telling you, 800 meters in, I was like, wow, I feel good today. Like, I actually feel really good. If I would have said, I'll go intense tomorrow and sacrifice the consistency of going today, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So to your point, it's a great point. It's like, just show up.
Just back to your goal setting piece too. One of my, I've been involved in coaching for a long time, and I honestly I didn't like goal setting. I didn't understand, I think, internally until I heard the quote that goal setting is just planning a celebration. That like, once I heard that, I was like, oh, it completely flipped for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can get carried away with goal setting. Like it has to be in service of something. You know what I mean? Like, we should never serve our goals. Our goals should serve us, right? And if I'm like, okay, why do I want to run 150 kilometers? Well, in November. Well, the reason I want to do that is because I want to run 175 in December. Okay, but why? Well, because next year I want to have my biggest mileage year in since 2017. I was actually really fit, and I want to run a 50K trail run. That's all. That's why I want to do it. So, okay, so this is all in service of something. Good. Now I'm back to it. Like, there has to be a value or an idea or something we're passionate about attached to it. Otherwise, we're just making check marks. Like, we're just little worker ants. Like, you know what I mean? It has to be in service of something. But I find other people hate this, like, and this doesn't work for them, but this is what I do. I think just having some clarity about not only what you're going to do, but also putting some time into why you do it is important. Just to wrap this up, I know I'm so long-winded, it drives me insane. So this idea of consistency comes from the work on grit. Now, we've all heard about grit before, a passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is not, oh my God, I was so gritty for those 5 minutes in that game. I was so gritty. No, you weren't. You were intense. You were competitive. You were motivated. That's not grit. Grit is about the long-term goal that we're trying to get. And it's maintaining a passion for it and a perseverance for it. So the model I like from that book puts this big goal at the top. We call it the compass. Like, that is the thing that directs a lot of my life. I want to play college ball. I want to make the Canada Games team. I want to, whatever it might be, that sits at the top. Beneath that are things that are going to be really important that are really not all that negotiable. Well, I need to work on my strength and conditioning and my fitness. That's the next thing here. I need to work on my mental game. I need to work on my shooting. I need to work on my nutrition, right? So some days having 3 of those really, really strong might be enough, right? But they all sit beneath this major compass goal that we have. And so that's that next level. And really, without all of them, it's going to be hard to have success. We can't be like, forget about fitness, mental toughness, and technical ability. I'm going to find other things. Not sure what else there is. So those things are there. And then the layer below that are these small daily goals that these are the things I'm going to do. Why am I doing it? So I can be more mentally tough. Why am I doing it? So I can move better. And why does that matter? So I can prevent injuries. Okay. And so the reason I have these bands out around my knees and I'm doing this exercise is in service of my mobility and injury prevention, which is in service of me staying healthy so that I can be on the court to achieve this higher level thing. And so the high level thing doesn't change. The things below are marginally negotiable, but they're pretty structured. And then the daily things, well, they change every day. And some days it's a big old X. I didn't do it. No problem. Throw it away and put a check mark there tomorrow. So that's how I think about it in a macro.
Yeah, excellent. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Let's give it maybe 10 more seconds. If we don't receive any more, thank you for sharing so much time with us. We went over time, but we appreciate every minute we get from you, because
awesome.
Again, it's just great to be able to have someone who's worked with athletes at the top level, and for us to be able to lean on that. So
it's my pleasure.
What I will do is, if I can get your PDF of your presentation, I'll send that out to everybody this week on Monday or Tuesday. And everyone, and please enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Yep. Thanks.